Hello, everyone! Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 223. Andrew here. Let's see, what are we talking about? Do you see why how my nails are black? It's all gross. Let me tell you the story behind that. Snake says, Deep Rock Galactic is a game about dwarves working as miners for a mining company called Deep Rock. Oh, okay. You mine, you fight, you drink beer. There you go. That sounds fun. So, I'm not good at sleeping. I'm better than I used to be. I used to be a horrible insomniac. Now I just don't sleep great. But it's my horrible insomnia. I seem to have mostly been able to get over several years ago, so that's nice. But still, I require, or at least vastly prefer, very dark, like pitch black in my bedroom. Like, if I owned a home, I would want a bedroom, like, on the inside. No outside wall, no window, just inside, dark, completely black. I don't want any light. So, in my bedroom, which does have a window, and we're not allowed to take down the blinds because this is an apartment, I put a blackout, tacked a blackout curtain over the blinds, and then hung 2 layers of blankets over it to block out the window. A week or so ago, the apartment complex replaced all of our windows, the sliding glass, including the sliding glass door that leads onto the porch. So that's a sliding glass door, kitchen window, bedroom window, bathroom window, and the window I have in the living room. So I had to take down my coverings so that the workers could get at the bedroom window. It's been raining quite a lot. Not raining really hard, but it's been raining quite frequently here in Southern California, which is nice because, drought. Although we have had some flooding problems. I haven't personally. Thank goodness. So anyway, I take down the coverings, and it seems in the past couple of weeks, some water leaked into my window, and was just trapped on the windowsill between the blackout curtains and blankets and the window pane. So it molded a lot. Really disgusting black mold. That's the color of my wardrobe. There you go. So I cleaned that and had them inspect it to make sure it didn't seep into the wall. Because I know my neighbors, they took out, I think they took out the bathroom window of my neighbors, and the whole wall fell apart. I don't know if they had termites or something, but the last 2 days, they set up a table saw in the breezeway between our apartments and fixed, I guess, their bathroom wall. They had to pull the entire tub out of there. Luckily, I didn't have that much of a problem. I just had to clean some mold. So instead of redoing the window coverings, I decided to go a different solution. So I bought vinyl static cling opaque film to stick on the window to black out the window. It's kind of a step up from literally painting the window. Boy, was that a pain in the butt. So I ordered it last week, and it's coming from middle of the country somewhere, and Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, somewhere on there. And it says, delivery on Thursday, and I'm like, I didn't pay for expedited shipping, but most things seem to get places in a couple of days. Nope. It was like 5 business days to get here. Oh well. So Thursday it arrives, but USPS, because they're putsickles, say, it doesn't fit in Andrew's mail cubby, and I'm certainly not going to turn around and leave it in the leasing office, which means that I took an additional day because I had to go to the post office and pick it up myself. I don't know why USPS has stopped leaving oversized packages with the leasing office. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe I need to talk to my landlord. Maybe the landlord doesn't accept packages. Maybe he's just always been out showing off a unit when the mail gets here. Or maybe USPS changed their policies and just, if they can't leave it in the mailbox, they're not leaving it anywhere. I don't know. So anyway, went to took my lunch break on Friday, yesterday, and picked up my package. And how you do it is you unroll the thing, you cut it into appropriate lengths, and then you have to peel the film off the back, which is the most difficult thing I have ever done. They're like, if you have trouble getting the film off, just take some Scotch tape, stick it on one side, stick it on the other, and pull it apart. Scotch tape does not stick to the back of this thing. I had to go to the store and buy new Scotch tape. Hopefully it had better stickum. And seriously, the most difficult part of the entire process was getting the film off the damn thing. I ended up, for the last one, I ended up taking a razor and scoring it as slightly as I could, and then, picking under it with the edge of the razor to try and get the film up. Because I just couldn't. I was like, man, do I have to just coat my hands in super glue and just do that and pull them apart? That was a pain. So then you stick them into the windows. Basically, you just spray it with soapy water. You stick it to the window. Then you squeegee it. I had to buy a little squeegee. Then you squeegee it out. Of course, and then you cut it to fit. But that leaves a 1/16 of an inch around. So I bought some around between a little 16-inch gap, between the pane, the window pane and the pane of glass. And they're supposed to have that there, for expanding and contracting. But light comes in, and that's no good. So I bought a tube of black silicone sealant, and the plan was to just right around the edge. I don't know if I got a defective tube of black silicone sealant, but that tube doesn't work. The silicone is more likely to just squeeze out the sides than it is to squeeze out the tip. Let show and tell time. Hang on. This thing looks like it's burnt. But no. So here's the tip. You squeeze this thing and it's supposed to come out the tip. So you can, it's like icing a cake, right? But no. You squeeze it and it came out under here. So, I'm squeezing it like this and it's just leaking out over here and just absolutely coating my hands. I probably got more on my hands than I did on actually the window. And I'm still cleaning that crap out from under my nails. This stuff, you read the back of the thing, which you can't read it anymore, but it says, wash your hands with soap and water. Yeah, and a Brillo pad. I mean, you essentially, soap, water, sure, but that only goes so far. You need to take something rough. And you need to exfoliate. You need to grind your skin off. But my room is now black as pitch, which is how it should be. Until I get up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom and stub my toe on something. I don't know. I actually do not have it out here, but I do have a 15-pound weight that I have pressed up against the bottom corner of my closed bedroom door. Because there's a ghost that tries to get in and keeps rattling my damn door at 7 in the morning. So I block it with a weight. Okay, it's probably not a ghost. It's probably like a pressure differential thing, but like 7 o'clock in the morning, that door just rattles. So I constantly block it with with one of my dumbbells. So that was kind of a pain. Oh, a window pane. But oh man, that was lame. Snake says, think any problems stemming from black mold is a hassle. Hey, Cafe Fox. Yeah, I was like, oh man, don't want to be breathing that in. So I wash the hell out of that. Regular wash, a cleaning solution with some white vinegar, and then topped it off with the bleach in it. My room smelled lovely for an evening, but at least it's clean. I think the fact that I had blackout curtain and 2 layers of blankets covering the window was probably protecting me from the black mold. But yeah, now I don't have curtains, blankets stapled to my wall or tacked to my wall. It looks pretty normal. It's just some closed blinds. And from outside, can't really even tell. Although I will admit, if you look at it closely, my silicone ceiling work is not very good. Because, again, it was just bursting out the sides of this damn thing. So I ended up kind of having to spoon it with a finger and just kind of rubbing it into the edges. So I can... It'll be dry in another day, so I'll probably go in there with a razor and scrape off the excess to make it a little cleaner, but it's fine. Yeah, so at least now I can sleep in the pitch blackness as we were all intended to, right? Copyright claim for what? For fuck's sake! So I just got a copyright claim for the Video Game Fashion Police video, and you might be thinking, Video Game Fashion Police? You haven't released one of those for a while. Yeah. The Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village that we did back in October. Once again, this video released, how many months ago was that? Where are we? About 5 months ago, close to 6 now. And once again, YouTube has misidentified the song I've been using for over a decade. God damn it. That is so irritating. What? Worry about it later. I'm sorry. It throws me off my game because it just pisses me off so much because I keep telling... YouTube doesn't care. That's the thing that kind of just... Like, if you tell me I'm making a mistake, I'll correct it. And I'll do everything in my power to ensure that I don't make the same mistake again. YouTube doesn't care. You can tell them they're making a mistake. They don't care. And they will never fix it. Hey, Chaos. So, for anyone who hasn't heard, yeah, that little that song I use in the credits of my videos, that's called Albino. I don't know why, but it was it's written by Brian Boyko, and that's what he titled it for whatever reason. It's a public domain song, and it's free to use. If you look in the description of all my videos, you'll see a little blurb at the bottom there somewhere that says, ending theme Albino by Brian Boyko, public domain, free to use, something like that. I've been using that since we started Super Podcast Action Committee. Back in, 2011 or something like that. So, over 10 years now. This will be, I think, the 8th time in 4 months that YouTube has misidentified Albino Boyko as Celtic Jazz Fusion by Bobby Cole. It's not Celtic Jazz Fusion by Bobby Cole. It never has been. But YouTube identifies Celtic Jazz Fusion by Bobby Cole, notifies a third-party representative who represents whoever, I'm assume, owns Celtic Jazz Fusion by Bobby Cole, and they claim my video. Which they have no right to, because their song, at least I'm assuming it's their song, is not in my video. It's not Celtic Jazz Fusion. YouTube is lying. Yeah, YouTube is lying. Because if you make a mistake, if you say something incorrect and you've made a mistake, that's not a lie. That's a mistake. But if you say something incorrect and you're corrected on it multiple times, over and over, and you still refuse to correct yourself, at that point, you are lying. YouTube lies about this. I don't know why. I think, I take it personally, I think they just don't like me. But the thing is, YouTube has absolutely no incentive to fix this. There's something about their system that continually misidentifies the song I've been using for 10 years as a completely different song. When all anyone would ever have to do is take 15 fucking seconds out of their day, listen to the song and go, oh, that's not the song. Oops. And you might think, well, how come the person who's claiming your song, well, they're not doing due diligence either. They get an email from YouTube that says, hey, this person's using their song, or your song. And they go, okay, claim. They don't check. Again, why would they? They have no incentive to do that. Because there is absolutely no consequences for getting it wrong. Let me rephrase that. There are absolutely no negative consequences, no repercussions for making a mistake, for getting it wrong. Why would they change? Why would they do due diligence? What incentivizes them to do that? That would take work. They'd have to actually do something. You'd think that YouTube would have something in there that... The thing that I find genuinely odd is, how did this happen 5 months later? And I've had this happen, like, for videos that are years old. It's like, how does that happen? Isn't it checked once when you upload it? Do they keep checking videos every day? How does that even happen? I don't get it. So now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be mean to YouTube on Twitter. I'm going to be mean to them on the little help support dongle thing on YouTube. I'm going to email Hawks, the third-party company, who's the content, what is the name of it? Content supervisor, something like that, for whoever the hell owns this in the first place, and ask them once again, for the 8th time in 4 months, YouTube has lied to you about me using your music. Would you please whitelist my channel? I promise to absolutely never use Celtic Jazz Fusion by Bobby Cole. I'm not interested in using it. Never heard the song. I'm sure it's lovely, but I'm not going to use it. So then I'm going to dispute the claim. They're going to reject my dispute. Then I'm going to appeal the claim, and they're not going to bother to take me to court over it. I mean, yeah, there's much bigger problems in the world. Still annoying. Oh well. Maybe I should just use Celtic Jazz Fusion. You know? Maybe their Content ID system would identify it as the public domain song I'm actually using. I don't know. Hey, Chicago. Super Podcast Action Committee? Was it a group podcast before Molehill Mountain? It was. That was the one that Zachary Knight and sometimes James and I would do for Game Politics. And when Game Politics ended in 2015, 16, somewhere around there, we decided to change... Pardon me. We decided to change the name to Molehill Mountain and just be a general entertainment podcast. and Zachary went his own way a couple of years later, and it's been a solo show ever since. So doing a solo show kind of coincided with a couple things. One, Zachary moved and didn't have internet, or at least usable internet, for like 7 months. Also, YouTube got rid of Google Hangouts, which was how we did a dual person podcast, which they just took away and didn't replace it with anything. So, I mean, there are, and so I've just been, doing it as a solo show ever since. So, but at least I get to sleep in the dark, so that's nice. All right, Mario. Nintendo's Mario. Let's talk about Mario. Now, iconic video game character, one of the most recognizable characters in the world, right up there with Mickey Mouse, right? If you were to describe Mario, how would you describe Mario? Well, most people would say, well, he's a short, rotund little man in overalls with a big mustache and a hat. And he has a high voice, and he goes, wahoo! And he's in video games. And I keep staring expectantly, and you're like, did you want more? I mean, he's got a big nose, red shirt, except when he eats a fire flower, then it's white. Keep going. I don't know what you want. He's got an M on his hat. He's got the cartoon white gloves. He's got like boots. Aha! His boots. His iconic boots. That's right. No one has ever forgotten Mario's iconic brown boots. Why? His boots are the first thing you think of when you think of Mario. When you think of Mario, you don't think video games or butt stomps or wahoos or overalls or the hat or a mustache. No, you think about his boots. Right? I mean, when I said Mario, you were like, boots. So the final trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie was shared by Nintendo and Illumination on Mario Day, March 10th. But since Japan is in the future, we got to see it on Thursday. And at the end of the presentation, I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto, says, and to celebrate the movie and Mario Day, I'm paraphrasing, I didn't write it down, we have constructed in real life Mario's iconic boots, and we're going to display them at the Nintendo store. So if you're in New York, come see Mario's boots. And I watched that and I went, boots? I mean, okay. Boots, huh? Odd choice, but sure. And then, on Illumination's channel, at least, I don't remember if it's on Nintendo's, but they released a 3-minute behind-the-scenes video of the making of Mario's iconic boots. And it's shot and scored like this is an absurdly solemn occasion. Like archaeologists are uncovering some mythical artifact that has finally been found, or or we've just uncovered an alien spacecraft, or Oh god, it is so overwrought and so weird. Um, don't give the Japanese any ideas. Yeah. Um, Snake says, I still say we should use Discord. Um, Chicago says, don't forget he wears white gloves. No idea why a plumber wears white gloves, but yeah. That's another thing, Chicago. Maybe they're going to try and mass produce and sell Mario's boots. I looked and it doesn't seem to be. It looks like they just made one pair to show off in the Nintendo store. And again, I don't know why. If it was Mario's hat, I'd be like, oh yeah, of course, Mario's hat. Hell, that was the co-star of the last big Mario game, Mario Odyssey. Yeah, his hat's iconic. His mustache is iconic. His overalls are recognizable. But his boots? Has anyone ever thought about his boots? Has anyone actually thought about his boots as iconic? Hell, Link's boots are more notable than Mario's. Samus's boots are more notable than Mario's. But back to this 3-minute video. The whole thing is shot in slow motion with dramatic angles and close-ups. And I swear to God, if this thing was scored with jazzy saxophone music, it would be nigh pornographic. It's already kind of dirty if you have a filthy, filthy little mind like me. Because seriously, while it's not slow jazz sax music, it's kind of the same music you'd have for some corporation who's like, imagine if OCP from the RoboCop movies, they're doing the commercial. What was the name of the city they were trying to build? Omni City or something like that. You know, they're like, the city of tomorrow. Our top minds and researchers have gotten together to build the coolest damn city that's going to make life wonderful for everyone who lives in life, who lives in Chicago. Delta City, that's what it was called. Delta City, a new tomorrow. That driving, slowly building dramatic music, that's what it's scored with. But there is a lot of, close-ups of, the hard, straight, rigid aglet of the laces penetrating the grommet of the boots. I'm like, this in slow motion, and I'm like, in close-up, I'm like, this is making me uncomfortable. I think Nintendo has a foot fetish. And hey, however you get your kicks, I'm a very funny person. Chicago, I'm just glad it wasn't Mario's underpants. That's a good question. What do you think? You think Mario's a tighty whities kind of guy, or if he's a boxer briefs, or yeah? I mean, we've seen him in. He did have a swimsuit out. He was in swimsuit trunks, in Odyssey. So maybe he's a boxer shorts kind of guy. Chicago agrees. Yeah, Mario's hat would have made more sense. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. I just thought it was really weird and left field. We've made Mario's iconic boots. What? I mean, it would kind of be like Link's iconic earring. Okay. I'd be like, Chicago, thong. Definitely thong. With all that jumping. Oh, man. Actually, with all his butt stomping, you'd probably want something with a little bit of support and padding, like some nice thick bicycle shorts or something like that. It's definitely something with support, especially if you're butt stomping. You don't want your tender bits shifting under your thigh as you slam down. Go, ee! No wonder his voice is so high. Mario's boots. Why the boots? And again, like Chicago suggested, if they were like with a limited run, if they were doing a limited run of Mario's boots that you could buy and wear, I mean, again, odd, but would make a little bit more sense. But no, they're making this big production that we went out of our way to meticulously handcraft a single pair of Mario's iconic boots and put them on display at the Nintendo store in New York. I think everyone's reaction was okay. Why though? it, I can't, like, what are the crowds like in the Nintendo store? I can't imagine anyone is actually going to look at the boots. If I was there, I'd go in and I'd be like, oh, here's the boots. Yep. I mean, is anyone being like face pressed against the plexiglass like, ooh, Mario's boots? Or are they just getting kind of, okay, just kind of indifferent shrugs from everybody? I don't know. It's the weirdest damn thing. Movie looks fun though. Looks a little overstuffed, but I mean, the style of humor is working for me. Like the incredibly morbid Luma in the if you remember Mario Galaxy, the little Lumas. Luigi's in a prison cell suspended over lava. It's like, oh, how do we get out of here? And there's a Luma in a cage next to him, and in its little childlike high-pitched voice, it's saying, no one will ever escape. We can only sit here and await the sweet release of death. Tee. And I'm like, okay, that's working for me. That's pretty funny. I like that. So, yeah, I'm excited for the Mario Brothers movie, and I look forward to seeing it when it's available on a streaming service I have access to. I mean, I don't know where it's going to end up, streaming service-wise. Worst comes to worst, I can always... I imagine it'll be in a red box somewhere, right? So I can go rent it. Because... I'd really like to see it. It looks genuinely charming. It looks like a lot of the humor is going to work for me, at least. And it's being 43 years old. I'm definitely going to catch all the references. Like, I've seen the Super Mario Super Show, so if they reference... Oh, well, they do. They had the Mario rap in the commercial. No idea if that's going to be part of the movie, but I'm like, I get that. You know, I know they do a cape or a Tanuki suit or something that directly references the thing. Or Bowser's is like, my armies! Koopas! And the Koopas are like, yeah! Goombas! Yeah! Well, they can't do this because they have no thumbs, but no arms either. And whatever those things are, and there's two little spinings, they're like, aw, my fragile little freelings are hurt now. Whatever those things are, and they're, aw. That's, humor's subjective, doesn't work for everyone, but for me, the Mario Brothers movie looks fun. I hope it's great. How awesome would it be to have a genuinely good Super Mario Brothers movie? That'd be great. We'll see. Chicago says, Snake agrees Mario wears thongs. Chicago, I saw this person on Twitter who made the trip to New York just to see the boots. Well, you know, I hope they're everything that they hoped they were. I hope it inspired many an ooh and ah. Chicago continues, that Luma feels like it's crossed with a rabbit. It's a little manic. Certainly, I don't know if I'd agree with that. It's a complete, for me anyway, it's a completely different energy. Also, Rabbids. I haven't played Sparks of Hope, but I don't think Rabbids have ever spoken. Of course, I don't think the Lumas ever spoke. Well, not out loud. I mean, they did speak to you in text boxes. All right, so today was demo day for me. There were a lot of demos that came out recently. So today I played 3 demos. I played the demo for... I didn't write them down. Shame on me. I played the demo for Resident Evil 4, the remake, the Chainsaw demo. Sea of Stars, which is an RPG coming out in the summer. One of those throwback retro-styled 16-bit era RPGs. Made by... I believe it's the studio that did The Messenger, which was kind of an 8-bit pastiche. Kind of like... Well, I think it actually swapped between 8 and 16-bit, but kind of a Ninja Gaiden feeling. You played a ninja and you were wandering around. So I think it's that team who are doing a 16-era bit. So think Secret of Mana, those kind of games. They're doing a retro throwback RPG. So Resident Evil 4, let's get the correct number of fingers here. Resident Evil 4, Sea of Stars, and the demo for Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon. Which is kind of a clunky title, but, you know, whatever. I mean, I imagine they really just wanted to call it Cereza and the Lost Demon. They're like, no one knows her as Cereza. We need Bayonetta in the title. That's the IP name. That's what people recognize. So, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. Let's start with Resident Evil. It is exactly what I was expecting, and probably what you and everyone else were expecting it was going to be. Now, if you're thinking, all right, what are they doing with a Resident Evil 4 demo? I think most people would presume that they're like, well, it's, you know, the opening of the game up until the siege at the village, right? Because that's like 20 minutes. Seems like a good place for the demo. You walk along the path, you get to the village, you play the siege, the bell rings, and everyone goes to bingo. Camera zooms out. Buy Resident Evil when it comes out in March. I don't know. Let me look at the calendar. No idea. 24th, 23rd, 24th, somewhere. I don't know if it'll come out on a Thursday or a Friday. I don't know. It's coming out later this month. About 2 weeks. So how's the demo do? It's fine. It's fun. I don't mean to be low energy on it, but it was just kind of exactly what I was expecting it to be. The Ganado are a bit more numerous and a bit more aggressive than I remember from vanilla Resident Evil 4 nearly 20 years ago. Good God, I'm old. How is Resident Evil 4 20 years old now? Well, I think it was 2004 or 5, so 18, 19 years old. They seem to take a little bit more damage. They're also very grabby. They really like lunging at you and grabbing you by the scruff of the neck. Which is fine because Leon has knife-based counters now in this game, so he can deflect. If they throw a hatchet at you, if they try to stab you with this pitchfork, you can block with your knife. If they grab you, you can stab them in the side of the head. You can also just slash at him. You can also poke at him too. So he's got his slash move from 2 and Jill's poke move from 3. If they're on the ground, you can stab them in the side of the head. You've seen it in the previews, but you can block the chainsaw with a knife. I would not recommend that. That's a good way to lose a finger. Well, on the other hand, if someone's swinging a chainsaw at your head, losing a finger is better than losing your head. It plays roughly the same. Uh, but the trade-off there with the knife is the knife has durability, so it'll break after a while. You can't overuse it. Um, my understanding is I think the "what are you buying" guy will fix your knife for you or sell you replacement knives, something like that. But overall, it was fun. It was they expanded the opening in the original game. You walk down the path and you go into a house, and there's a Ganado there, and he tries to bean you with a fire poker or something, or maybe a hand axe. I don't remember. And you kill him, and then there's a ruckus outside, and I think they rammed the police officer's car off the cliff, something like that. You head down the path. Police officers are strung up and burning at a pyre, and you go into the village and you start a big fight. And I think it's the siege is built so that if you kill like a dozen or two Ganados, or if you survive for I don't know 7 or 8 minutes, that's how the sequence ends. I think it's on a timer. I think it ends when you reach a certain amount of time or you kill a certain number of enemies. I think. I think I remember someone saying that that's mechanically how the fight worked. This time it seemed a lot shorter. I don't think I killed 15 enemies. Maybe it was just fun and went by really fast, but it seemed shorter. It seemed like it was only like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know. Maybe it's just tuned differently. But in this game, you start. Apparently, the police go ahead of you, and you're like, "What the hell's taking them so long?" And you follow them, and you find one dead in the basement, and the other one's lit on fire at the pyre in town. So you go to the first house. That has been entirely expanded. There's a little basement area, as I mentioned. There's an upper floor. There isn't just the kind of the you go in the room and around the corner, and there's the dude by the fireplace. And the sequence works a little bit different. You end up hurricane kicking him in the head, and he hits the wall, and his neck breaks, and he falls over. And then you go down to the basement, and as you come out, he's just like this, and he's like, ah! Just comes after you. It's pretty funny. Other than that, pretty much the same. Although it starts at night, and it becomes morning, which is weird, because you essentially... It's like very dark when you go into the first building. As you come out, it's starting to lighten up. And then you go through this small building, and it's just suddenly morning. It's like, wait, what happened here? Oh, yes, and birds still drop money when you shoot them. I don't know why birds are carrying loose change in Resident Evil 4, but they sure enough do. Chicago says, knife? That's not a knife. This is a knife. I think this is the second time in 2 weeks, I didn't do last week, but second time in 2 podcasts we've referenced Crocodile Dundee, of all things. Snake says, I heard they're bullet sponges. They do seem to take a lot more they do seem to be a little bit more difficult to knock on their butts. Particularly the chainsaw dude, what's his name, Dr. Salvador or something like that. Yeah, they do seem to be more grabby and a bit more bullet spongy. Pardon me. I didn't feel it was really any better or worse. I'm gonna have to, play the entire game and see how that shakes out. But yeah, it was fine. It was fun. It's Resident Evil 4. I liked it. So let's see. What do we want to talk about? Let's talk about Bayonetta Origins. Cafe Fox says RE4 is still largely a mystery to me, as I haven't seen much of it in action, so I'll be going in blind. Oh, okay. Have you not played the original? Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games. It's right on up there. It's a fantastic game. I've always loved Resident Evil 4. Be interesting to see what changes they make, because most of the changes I'm aware of are aesthetic. Like, Ashley's wearing a jacket. Okay. Carlos has a much more punchable face in this one. Okay. He also looks like he might stick around a lot longer. Either he lives longer, or they've reorganized the way, or there's a multiplayer mode or something like that. But he dies at, I think in one of the trailers, I'm like, he was dead by this point, right? Or am I misremembering? But what else has changed? The knife thing with the durability, that's different. They expanded the houses, but we'll see how different this ends up. If it's more a remake like the remake of Resident Evil 1 is, which was very faithful to the original. It had the Lisa Trevor stuff and a couple expanded areas, but for the most part, it was just a very pretty version of the original game with, new performances. Maybe that, but the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake were just reimaginings of. That's a good way to think of it. Resident Evil 1 was a remake. Resident Evils 2 and 3 were reimaginings. Resident Evil 4 looks like it's more of a remake than an outright reimagining. But being that Resident Evil 4 is just a phenomenal game, I would be afraid to reimagine something that's some would consider perfect. Let's see. Chaos or Cafe Fox says, nope, played the first 3 not too long ago. Really liked 2 remake. Yeah, 2 remake. 2 remake was really good. 3, I think I would like better if I had never played the original. But I did enjoy 3. Chaos has never played an RE game. My horror games start and stop with Left 4 Dead. Okay. So anyway, Cereza and the Blind... No, Blind. I'm thinking Ori and the Blind something or other. Lost Demon. Bayonetta Origins. Aesthetically, I like what they're doing with the almost watercolory children's storybook presentational aesthetic of the game. I find it quite attractive and very different from the main series of games, granted, but it's presented very children's fairy tale, and I think the aesthetics work in support of that presentation. So I like that element. The one thing I don't care for is the way they're texturing the characters. The characters, Bayonetta and Morgana, her caretaker, their clothing the clothing they wear is very pattern heavy with a lot of swirly stripes and stuff. And how they achieve that effect is similar to how they did, if you ever saw the anime Count of Monte Cristo, yes, the butter, Count of Monte Cristo. What they did was they had these, it's a 2D animated show that one of the big selling points from a visual perspective is the characters had incredibly intricately patterned outfits. And you're like, wow. Because most characters wear solid colors or very simple patterns when it's 2D animation, because you have to track and animate that same design frame by frame, right? So in the Count of Monte Cristo anime, what they did is they kind of like color keyed patterns onto the characters. Like they would solid color the character's shirt, and they would color key that shirt and then project the pattern onto that color key. Neat. Okay. The problem is the pattern would stay in one place and would move as the characters move. So imagine each of my fingers is a stripe, right? So you have horizontal stripes. Never wear horizontal stripes. They're not flattering to your figure. So you have 4 horizontal stripes across the chest here, right? Now, as I move, if these stripes were built into my shirt, they would move with me, right? But since they're color keying my shirt and projecting the pattern on it, as the character moves, the they do this. They just stay in one place. So throughout the entire show, if you've ever seen someone on a green screen or any type of keyed background and they're accidentally wearing a tie or a shirt under their jacket that's the same color, and whatever's projected behind them is projected on their shirt, right? It's the same look. That's what's happening in Bayonetta Origins, and I don't know why, because it's a 3D model. You can just plaster a texture on the damn thing. I don't know if they're, like, trying to save performance or something, but luckily, the camera is far back enough that it's hard to notice, and whenever the camera zooms in, it's usually for a cutscene, and those are done with mostly still frames, storybook style, like individual illustrations in a storybook, so it's not as noticeable. It's not as really irritatingly off-putting as it was as the anime I was talking about, but I don't know why they're doing it like that. Ori and the Lost Forest. Thank you, Chaos. Oh, Blind Forest, right. Like what they did in Chowder? What is Chowder? I know no Chowder. TV series. It's a soup. Yes, I know that. Thank you. There's recipes. Oh, is it this purple cartoon character here? Oh yeah. I can. The hat and the shirt and vest covering it up are very intricately patterned, and that would be a pain in the ass to draw frame by frame. So I imagine that's a pattern that shifts as the character moves. Yeah, I don't like that. Again, luckily it's not a huge problem in Bayonetta because she's far away enough from the camera where it's not really noticeable for the most part. So, But gameplay-wise, what it shows you, it's a little slow to start. I think they could have picked up the pace a little bit, but what you might not know, because the trailers for the game aren't really communicating this, is it's kind of a dual Tale of Two Sons. What is that game where you two brothers, Tale of Two Brothers, right? Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. What the hell's it called? You have two characters, and you control one with the left stick, one with the right stick. That's pretty much what Bayonetta here is doing. Bayonetta is controlled with the left stick, and the left shoulder button is her spell attack thing. And Cheshire, her cat demon thing, is controlled with the right stick, and his attack is on the right shoulder button. So it's kind of an exploration puzzle game. Because Cheshire cannot get through clouds of rosemary, while Bayonetta can, or Cereza can. So you'll have to drive them up different paths and then meet back together on the other side. Cheshire can claw through big brambles, while Cereza can't. So it becomes more of a environmental puzzle adventure game where you figure out how to position and move your characters to journey through the environment. There is some combat. It requires a lot of, Bayonetta will use her spell to hold an enemy in place, while Cheshire, brute force punches him to death. So far, it's a lot of fun. The story is, it's fine. It's okay so far. There's the Umbran Witches and the Lumen Sages, and for some reason someone said we can't bone each other, but Ceresa's mom and her dad, her mom being a witch and her dad being a Lumen Sage, said, nah, the heart wants what the heart wants, and they had little Cereza, and so mom is now in jail for, I guess, having relations with a Lumen Sage. Yeah, those kind of laws, those never work. Don't do that. There's no reason to do that. Don't do that. So little Ceresa's mummy is in prison, and she's going to venture into the deep, dark, spooky woods to find the artifact of power that she needs to bust her mom out of prison. Okay. You know, that's fine. I'm I'm with you. But I really enjoy the. So far, it's pretty laid back, but it's got a really nice children's storybook fairy tale presentation to it that is very very different from the main series of games, but pleasant in its own right. I think so. It's definitely a game I will pick up at some point. I quite liked it. Effect is called Unmoving Plaid. Just looked this up recently for a topic on Twitter. Huh. Unmoving Plaid. Because the pattern, because it's usually, like crisscross and stuff, stays in place while the character moves. I really don't like that effect. It's a cool idea, but it's just too distracting for me anyway. Cafe says also perspective incorrect texturing, but yeah, it's an odd effect. Yeah. I don't like it. Uh, and I don't like the AI assisted rotoscoping that Corridor Crew did a few weeks ago with their rock paper scissors anime. I What I find interesting about that, and I the problem I had with it was how it was presented. For those of you who don't know, Corridor Crew, Corridor Channel, something like that. There's a independent effects house that has a pretty popular YouTube channel, and they do a lot of effects videos and reaction videos. They bring in animators and effects artists to look at modern and sometimes classic effects and animation and talk about it. And it can be very neat. One of their recent things is can we pioneer a new way of rotoscoping? Can we shoot live action plates and can we get computer AI to digitally rotoscope it? And the answer is yes, to an extent. Is it sellable? Not at this point. No, it's ugly as shit. But it's neat tech. It could definitely be used as a tool by artists. Where I think Corridor Crew tripped up is how they presented it. They started out with talking about like we are going to democratize animation, and I immediately went, oh no. How very tech bro of you. No, you're not democratizing animation. Animation is already democratized. The entry point for animating is very, very low. It just takes skill. And that skill, for most anyway, is something that is developed through practice and hard work. Most everyone has access to pencils and paper. Anyone can draw. Anyone, well, not anyone. Some people are missing all their limbs, but I've seen I've seen people draw with feet, so never count people out. But pretty much everyone can draw, and most anyone can take the time to learn and practice and develop talent at drawing. So it's democratized. You don't need to democratize something that's already democratized. It's also really rich coming from Corridor Crew, which is not a huge studio. It's a small independent studio, but they have 6-7 million viewers on YouTube. It's one of the larger YouTube channels. They own a large office space. They employ at least 20 people, and they have millions of dollars of hardware to play with, including sets, lighting, cameras, costumes, and tons of computer equipment and software. That, my dear friends at Corridor Crew, is the antithesis of democratized art. The way they present it is like, oh, so anyone can do this. No, not everyone has a studio with 20 employees and millions of dollars worth of hardware to play with. You silly gooses. You gooses are so silly. So that rubbed me the wrong way. The other thing uh, that failed to rub me right was they trained their AI on stolen art. They're like, we want to make an anime that looks like Vampire Hunter D. So we trained our AI on Vampire Hunter D. So now when it rotoscopes our performances, it looks like Vampire Hunter, well, specifically Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Otherwise known as Lesser Vampire Hunter D. Seriously, Bloodlust is nowhere near as... I don't think Vampire Hunter D is... It's a classic, yes, but it's not that good. It's okay. It's fun, it's cool, it's worth seeing. Bloodlust is kind of crap. First one's okay. I don't know why you would train it on the second one. But anyway. So they democratized art by stealing the hard work of people who actually put in the years of time and practice to hone their craft, so that they could train their computer to rotoscope themselves, their live action footage, and produce a really shit looking anime. I'm not talking about they made Rock Paper Scissors the anime. It's supposed to be silly. It's supposed to be heightened. It's a parody. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simply visually, it's not there yet. And that's okay. This is new tech. It's in development. In 5 years, I'm sure it'll look great. What I found interesting, though, is I saw a lot of people in the comments and on Twitter go, "Oh my god, it looks amazing. It's indistinguishable from something that, Production IG would release, or Madhouse, or Studio Ghibli." I'm like, no, it's really bad. It's terrible, actually. It looks really, really terrible. I mean, it's a really interesting tech demo, and I think this particular technology could be a valuable tool in an artist's pocket. Unfortunately, in my mind's eye, I see a lot of producers going, "Ooh, I like this. We don't have to pay artists anymore because the computer can do it for us if we just feed it art that has already been produced by other people." And that's not going to be good results for people's livings or for art. So, however, I like to think that Corridor Crew have their hearts in the right place. Heads may be up their asses, but their hearts are in the right place. And just didn't present it very well. Because this morning on the Corridor Crew, they were doing an animators react. They invited some professional animators to react to different Disney flicks from the last couple decades, and this was filmed before they released their Rock Paper Scissors anime, and they showed it to these animation artists, and the host actually clarified that he says, "Now, we trained this with images from an anime called Vampire Hunter D, but what you would want to do is, have your own artists create style sheets for your characters in your project and feed it to your AI and be able to help automate the process of rotoscoping if that's the style you're going for." Yes. And if he's not lying, and this was actually filmed prior to, and I believe him, that this was filmed prior to the release of the Rock, Paper, Scissors anime thing, then okay. I'll certainly chalk that up to, you didn't present that as well as you could have. Because the way you presented it really did not reflect well on you. But, Rock, Paper, Scissors, the anime, is a funny idea. And it's interesting tech that could be a useful tool for artists. It could also be very damaging to careers and art if tech bros and, producers who don't give the first damn about art have their way with it. So, we'll see where it goes. Lindy says democratize. Exactly. Snake says they really don't like this AI art stuff. You know, again, it's how it's used. It's a neat toy. I mean, it's kind of fun to take one of these things and give it inputs and see what it spits out. I mean, it's like playing with a magic 8 ball. It's fun to see what comes up, right? It can be a fun toy. I can also see it being useful as a just another tool in an artist's toolbox, box o tools. But the problem is, and more, I can imagine that an independent person, like imagine myself. I never taught myself to draw. I can draw well enough to communicate barely, and Lindy can actually confirm this. When I tried to sketch out my idea for the movie mandates art I asked her to draw. Let's say I wrote a story and I wanted to do my own little 30-page comic book. Well, I could commission somebody to do it, but 30 pages, I mean, that's a lot of money to commission someone to draw an entire book. So I could, build my own comic book out of an AI art program. Okay. That has value, I think, because I'm not in a position to be able to pay an artist to draw an entire book for me. I can commission Lindy to draw a single poster for me, but I couldn't hire her or anyone else to draw an entire 32-page comic book. I don't have the cash. Where I have a problem is the way the AI has been trained. In most cases, it's been trained by just scraping images off the internet. If these AIs had been trained by sources that were either made by whoever owns the product or at least legally purchased, then it would be fine. Imagine this. What the hell is it called? RPG Maker, right? So far as I know, all of the assets in RPG Maker are produced by the company that made RPG Maker. So when a person makes their own little RPG using RPG Maker, they're using assets that were made by the program. Now imagine if RPG Maker just sprite ripped assets from all of the Super NES and Genesis RPGs and filled their asset library with rips from those games. Would be an entirely different story, I feel. So that's the problem I have with AI art. Also, it usually sucks. The problem with, again, it's evolving technology. It'll get better. But the problem with AI art is it's not very good yet. It's still learning to draw, kind of. And even that's not a great way to describe it, because what AI art does is more collage than actual learning to draw and then drawing. It's not learning from images as much as it is building up a database and then picking the images that will get closest to the prompts that it's been fed and blend them together, sometimes interpolate stuff, which is why faces a lot of times come out fine with AI art, because most people want a face pointing towards the camera, right? And there are a lot of pictures of faces pointing towards a camera. So the AI has a lot of faces that are pointing towards the camera. Where does AI screw up a lot? Well, perspective and complicated things like hands. Because there's lots of pictures of hands, but people's hands are all over the place. So at the orientation of the wrists and the fingers, which is why when AI tries to draw hands, it's approximating between a bunch of different images, and you'll end up with fingers mashed together or a sixth finger or weird things. Also, interestingly, not very good at straight lines. Like if you try and I've seen someone did an AI generated art of the Capitol, the Capitol building with the columns. Columns weren't straight. It was just, I think it was trying to do some type of perspective thing, and it was just screwing up. you know, so I think AI has the potential to be a fun toy and a valuable tool, but it also has the potential to make everything worse. And we as a species, well, we have a nasty habit of going down the wrong path. So, we'll see what happens. Let's see. And Lindy says, your stick figures were pretty good. LOL. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just enough to kind of communicate what I'm thinking. Let's see. Lindy says, unfortunately, we're getting better with the tech. I'm starting to have a hard time to tell what's generated from AI nowadays, and that's unsettling for me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially, it's like, has my art been scraped for AI training? And sometimes in these AI images, you'll see watermarks get included. And it's like... So, Cafe says, I can almost guarantee there's an animation crew redoing that entire video just to show it up on purpose. Yeah, and I don't think Corridor Crew itself is up their own bums enough to think that artistically the rotoscoping is very well done. It's not. There are some frames that look okay, but most of them are a smeary mess. The eyeball pupils keep shifting, the mouth shapes are often wrong, and not in a, oh, it's heightened and exaggerated, it's animate. No, it's just bad. The hands are an absolute mess. A lot of the costume reproduction turned out pretty well, but yeah, the faces and the hands are, yeah, it's pretty garbage. Which is not to, but I mean, it's something that they worked on for like 4 or 5 months. As a tech demo, it's really cool. I just think that it would have been better if, as initially presented, Corridor Crew was number one. Drop the democratization of art bullshit, because that's just bullshit. No. So drop that dumb crap, and I wish they would have been more upfront in the first place. That ideally, we'd hire artists to create a new style and style sheets and character models for what we're doing, but we don't have the time or budget for that, so we are going to source Vampire Hunter D, which I don't know if they had the rights to do that. I know the movie's available on YouTube, but I don't think that means it's free to scrape the anime for stills to train your AI with. On the other hand, I don't think they're... Oh man, the sticky. They're not technically selling their little 7-minute movie, but they are selling a class on how they made their movie. So kind of a tutorialized click here to do what we did. So we'll see if someone sues them. I have no idea who owns Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, so... Cafe. Oh, talking about the movie mandates are. Cafe says, "I like how unemotive and deadpan you made Andrew over his sister." Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was the concept. Lindy says it's his go-to expression, so kind of hard to miss. Yeah. Snake said, "I asked it to make a spoon and it had a stroke." Lindy says, "Oh yes, my art was scraped. I checked. I'm pissed." Oh, sorry to hear that. Before I got on that tangent, I was going to talk about Sea of Stars, which was the last demo I played today, which is the RPG, and it's fun. I quite enjoyed it. What I would, and I don't know if it's one I'm going to buy, but it's definitely one I'll keep my eye on. But what I really would like to talk about is how whatever company made this game went about creating a demo for their game. RPGs, as I've discussed on this podcast a couple of times, are notoriously difficult to demo. Usually, because a demo, broadly speaking, you want 20-30 minutes. Some demos can go for 4 hours, but generally speaking, a demo will be far less than an hour, probably in the 20-30 minute mark. That can be problematic for RPGs for two main reasons. Number one, RPGs tend to be very dense in their storytelling. There's often a lot of characters, a lot of world building, a very in-depth, complicated plot, a lot of lore, and that can be really difficult to get across in a short amount of time. Hell, RPGs have a difficult time starting, let alone demoing. How many RPGs do you know? It's like, yeah, it takes about 10 hours to kind of get going, but it's really, really good, right? The other thing is RPGs tend to be mechanically very dense. And it's difficult to demo that. Because, it's like, okay, you've got 24 spells, but that's separate from your 24 skills, which is separate from the 24 items you have in your pocket, and that's just for one character. You have a party of 6 characters, but only 4 of them can be on the field at the time unless you swap in one of your standby characters, which you do with this. It's like, oh my god. Yeah. Teach all the mechanics around that in half an hour. So there are two major ways, or two common ways that publishers tend to demo RPGs. One is to just do the front of the game, which is where most of the tutorials are. The problem with that, I mean, if your game starts well, so will your demo. The problem with that is if you're only looking at even if you do a generous first 2 hours of the game, right? You probably haven't introduced the bulk of your cast. You probably haven't even really gotten into the main story much. And you definitely haven't gotten into a lot of the more in-depth mechanics. Take Xenoblade Chronicles X as an example. That game was sold on the fact that your party gets to drive mechs, transforming robot things, right? Cool. That don't happen till like 30 hours into the game, I hear it said. So, how the hell do you demo that? You're not going to do a 30-hour demo. So, the other thing that I see a bunch is they kind of the demo just drops you into the game like 20, 30 hours in. And the advantage to this is we're at the dramatic points of the story. We've got most, if not all, of our full party. We've got a full suite of combat options, spells and skills and magic items and special moves and all kinds of neat stuff. The problem is you have no context for any of this You don't know who any of these people are. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what any of these spells or skills or items do, and you don't know how any of the mechanics work. There's a reason this stuff is doled out over 10 hours, because you just drop someone. I played the demo for I think it was Tales from or Tales of Arise, and it goes the latter option of just kind of dropping you 20, 30 hours into the game. So you get you can get a sense of the characters and how they interact with each other, and you can get into a combat and kind of get a feel for the flow and what it feels like. But it's really hard to play because it's like, I don't know what these items do. You know, I've got a backpack full of about 60 odds and ends. I guess I could read the description, but I don't know what they are. I have no context for them. I don't know what any of the spells are. These people seem nice, I guess, but I don't know what their deal is. I don't really know what we're doing. That's just a long roundabout way of saying RPGs are understandably very difficult to demo. So, Snake says there was a dude going to art streams and just poaching art. Well, that dude is uncool. Uncool, dude. Uncool. So how does Sea of Stars demo it? Well, it kind of does both. It starts at what appears to be, at the very least, very near the beginning. So it drops you on top of a mountain. And this is clearly not the very beginning of the game, because we don't know who the characters are. And they were set down by like a giant robot, and I'm sure there's some story there, but we don't get into it. And they're like, all right, we need to get to the Island of Wrath. So I think we need to get off of the mountain, because I doubt we're going to find any boats up here. It's like, okay, so we have a goal. We've got a party of 3 people. We're going to get to an island, so we need to get down off the mountain and find the ocean, right? So where do you go? Well, you go down. So in this first part of the game, you get a sense of how the exploration works. You can walk around, you can climb on stuff and drop off of ledges, you can tightrope walk across wires and stuff, climb ladders, explore nooks and crannies to find treasure. Oh, look at all the cute little bespoke animations for the various actions. Isn't that adorable? You also get into a fight, and you figure out how the battle mechanics work. Your characters are all level 3 at this point, I believe. So you have 3 people in your party, you have a couple spells, so you can get a nice taste of what you're doing. You're limited to 10 items, and you only have, I think, 3. You've got like 3 cups of jelly, which is MP restore. You've got 2 plates of fish, which is a full party heal, and you've got 3 plates of goulash, I don't know, which is a personal heal. You know, each character has only 2 special moves, so it makes it really digestible. So you figure out the fight, and you're like, okay, that's neat. And then you're like, okay, continue down the mountain, and it cuts to a ninja who's spying on you, and then goes through a portal. Intriguing and mysterious. And then it just cuts to the town. It says, and then our heroes had many adventures on their way down the mountain, and it just cuts to a tavern where your characters are standing around and says, those were some adventures we had. Now we need to talk to the pirates and see if we can get on their boat so that they'll take us to the Island of Wrath. Oh. Okay. So you walk over to the pirates and you get into an arm wrestling competition, which is a very cute scene that I won't spoil. And they're like, we'll give you a ride if you go into the local dungeon and beat the boss in the dungeon. Okay. So you get a sense of the overworld map and how that works. You get to play through a dungeon to its completion, and that's the end of the demo. So that definitely took a lot more work than just, doing some type of vertical slice, either from the, letting someone play the opening hours of a game, or chopping out a segment 30 hours in for them to play. This was actually a curated experience. It starts you, I would guess, maybe an hour or 2 in. lets you play a little bit of the mountain, fast forwards you to the start of one particular side quest, then lets you play through a dungeon, and then you're done. That's a really good way to do it. I can understand why a lot of publishers don't do it that way, because it's definitely the most resource intensive. You actually have to essentially do a unique build of the game for specifically for that, because there's a lot of areas in this demo where there will be characters standing there going, sorry, this area is off limits in the demo. Oh, all right. There's also another area, if you're on the overworld map and you decide to go somewhere else, you get a little pop-up note that says, hey, this area is not available in the demo, but if you want to stand here and listen to this cool music track that was done by guest composer whoever, enjoy it. So that was neat. You know, the overworld theme changes to a guest track that they had from someone who composed music for them. If you go stand in this little corner you're not supposed to. That was neat. But there's a lot of stuff like that. You know, hey, we're skipping ahead, or I have a feeling some of the dialogue was rewritten for this bit because it's kind of referencing the fact, some of it's referencing the fact that it's a demo. Game seems neat. It's definitely incomplete. There's some sound cues missing. It's not voiced, so you have text boxes, and as the text advances, some of them go, you know, there's a little sound effect as the characters type into the text box. Some of them are silent. So there's also, I think they need to redo the sound balancing. It works kind of like Paper Mario, where if you hit the controller button at the right time when attacking or defending, you do more damage or take less damage, respectively. There's a little chime that plays when you do that correctly. I think they need to bring that up in the mix because it's a little bit too subtle, I think. But I don't think the game's scheduled to come out for the summer, so they have plenty of time to iron out those details. Overall, I was pretty impressed with. I think Sea of Stars, is that what it's called? I think so. I think it looks like a really nifty little RPG, and I was also really impressed with how the demo itself was constructed. So, let's see. Chaos says, I can't recommend Tales of Arise enough. I can't say I recommend the demo of Tales of Arise. The demo is... Arise's demo does not serve the game. And I'm not holding the demo against the game. Or I'm not holding it against it. But it doesn't demo well. And understandably, because RPG demos are really hard to do right. Cafe says it should just be the beginning of the game. Story and gameplay wise would be more fitting, like the demo for a Trial of Mana. Haven't played that. Let's see. Snake says playing Deep Rock while listening to you is a very calming experience until a bug swarm happens and I'm swarmed. All right. Oh, 8:30. So that's enough for tonight. So thank you everyone for hanging out with me. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this chat that we had. I'm try not to be too jealous of anyone who lives in New York and can go to the Nintendo store and stare lovingly at Mario's iconic boots for hours on end, as we all want to. I know. Damn New Yorkers. Tomorrow we are returning to Crossbell for some Trails from Zero fun. Looking forward to that. Hope you'll join me. That starts at noon Pacific Standard Time. So, if it's dinner time for you all, enjoy your dinner and make sure you brush your teeth before going to bed. All right, I still need to clean black silicone sealant from under my nails. So, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.